then we are moving on to our next talk from Dr. Reilly Willis from the University of Suffolk in the UK, who also received the iBuilt Award for Excellence in Teaching this year. Welcome, Reilly.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Echoing what Jamie said, the wind where I am it's like the Wizard of Oz. I'm expecting Toto and a bike to go past my window any minute. So if you do hear lots of wind, I do apologize for that. But yes, thank you so much for having me. Absolute pleasure to be here. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to everyone, wherever you are. I did have some slides, but I'm not going to put them up. I think I'm just gonna talk and reflect on what I've heard since I've joined in. I'm sorry I joined late. I was teaching all day and then driving home and I jumped on. So here we are. The main thing that I talked about in the original presentation was how we were embedding research method skills into 30 credit blocks. And I think this is indicative of some of the problems and solutions that come a little bit out of John, what you said about chopping up the elephant. You know, it's not just about translating everything we've done, you know, from, because we were 20 credits and now we're 30 credits. And it's not just, you know, Ellen Buck used to always say, it's not lift and shift. We have to redesign purposefully. And I sit on Senate at the University of Suffolk, and one of the biggest points of pushback from academics when we moved first to 20 credit, then to 30 credits blocks was, well, if we don't have enough space in the curriculum to have a standalone research methods module, what are we going to do? And this all came out of a policy change where our academic policy was rewritten to say, it previously said you had to teach a standalone research methods module. And in 30 credits, we realized for a whole lot of courses that just wasn't going to be possible, particularly those that were regulated and had to teach a certain number of subjects. And so we changed our policy to say you no longer have to have a standalone research methods module. And this was interpreted by many as, oh my God, we're not going to teach research methods anymore. And so we had really vibrant debates in Senate about whether we should still have to or how we would deal with this. And it pushed a lot of innovation around, well, if we're not having a standalone skill, and this is for any skill, I think skills-based module, how do we embed that throughout 30 credits when we're trying to cover a lot of content? And I noticed Irina had a comment earlier on about, you know, maybe what was really important before isn't quite so important. And what John was saying about it's time to chop things up. And so that's what we did. We did a lot of chopping up. And we came up with some solutions around introducing research methods, a lot of which were designed as a learning hub that students could dip in and out of alongside of their in-class work. And so that hub is there throughout their entire time. We've trialed this year with postgraduate, so it is just a one-year course. And we have this very, very content-full research methods hub online that has a checklist. And it says, you know, I feel confident on, I don't know, theoretical underpinnings. And it says, if not, click here. And it then takes the students to an online learning module, just a single module where they can brush up on theory. Or I feel confident on, you know, something like referencing. If not, click here. And it then takes them to a whole online learning section just on referencing. And then students are assessed on their research methods work via a reflective portfolio where they reflect on 6 different activities that they undertook from the hub. And again, this was trialed with some level 7 students, and we had a very, very wide range of students, both domestic and international, some from, I'm in law, by the way, some from law backgrounds, some not from law backgrounds. So we wanted to make sure this methods hub would work for everyone. So those who'd done research methods, those who hadn't. So it had a really wide range of content available. And I think it's been quite interesting. We've done this for a year now, and I noticed, Jamie, you also talked about having some carousel introduced, and that has been a major challenge. So I'm not quite sure why yet, and I have to figure this out. But that research hub worked really well for our September starters. And truth be told, I don't think it worked for our January starters. And I haven't quite figured that piece out yet, if it's just the nature of the cohort or if there's something else we need to introduce. So we're still figuring it out. But again, having these forced innovations has been really fun to say, okay, well, I'm not going to have a standalone research methods hub. So what am I going to do? How am I going to deliver and teach? Oh, I don't know which one it is. These skills. And for our undergrad, what we're looking at doing is sort of drip feeding throughout the whole 3 years. So, in their first year, they have a literature gathering assessment, and in their second year, they have to do an assessed literature review. And so we're building the skills up over the 3 years until the end of their course. And in forcing this change and being a bit more innovative and chopping things up, we actually found in moving to 30 credits that we had space for a whole new module that pulls together all of the things that they've learned over their 3 years. So it's their final culminating module in level 6, and it's a problem-based learning. So students have these really complex problems to work through that draw from everything back to block 1 in their first year, and it draws from all of the blocks and all of the subjects that they've taken over their whole course and brings it all together in these really complex problems that they have to work together to come up with solutions to. And their assessment is to then present to someone in industry. So it's a very professional assessment. So I really appreciate the fact that moving to 30 credits for us has forced, encouraged, nurtured some innovations. And I think embedding research method skills across a year-long course with a standalone hub, or across 3 years with drip-fed assessments, has opened up some really exciting new possibilities and opportunities for us. And I know we're running a little bit behind, so I think I'll call it there and see if there's any questions or comments or discussions around those points.
Thank you, Reilly. Any questions, comments for Reilly? Michelle?
I just want to say that that seems to be exactly what John was talking about in the keynote, rethinking the whole approach, sort of with a more umbrella type view rather than this individual thing. So it's wonderful to be able to share and hear that it's already happening. It's really got me thinking. Thank you.
I'm not sure it's all working 100%, but it is happening, and we are experimenting and we're figuring it out, and we've given ourselves the opportunity to experiment with this. And I think that's the most important thing as well.
And it's brave, because I really feel, and I hope I'm not talking out of turn here, but that at Victoria University, we're now embedded, perhaps mired in what we've created and married to it. And you've demonstrated that we need to, and that we can do it differently.
Heidi?
Thanks for that, Reilly. One thing I was curious about, Emma spoke about how they did a lot of changes over a very short period of time, and that it didn't allow for kind of processing. I'm just wondering, I can imagine research methods that being a big battle. I was just curious to hear how long that kind of process and discussion was undertaken over. Yeah.
So we've had one really short, sharp change and then one longer change. So when we moved from semesterized and year-long teaching into block in the first instance, that was like, right, we're doing this right now, overnight, go. So there was very little space for debate and discussion at that point. We're taking our time with the transition to 30 credits and doing more of a slower rollout. So my team, and the law is one of the last to switch over. We've had a luxurious year and a half to think about it. And so we actually had a lot of time to do some research on our 20 credit block and how that was going, to use that internal research to fuel the changes. And we did give courses a lot more time to think and discuss, which was really beneficial, really beneficial.
Great, thanks.
John, and then David.
Thanks. I think Michelle's comment was interesting, saying that we are mired or married to what we're doing at VU, which is interesting. And I think it's a dangerous place to be as well, because we need that experimentation that you're talking about, Reilly, and that we need to be continually on our toes in terms of what we're doing. Again, that needs to be balanced with the understanding that continual change is exhausting. So how do we make sure that we are not getting stuck in our ways, and at the same time we don't exhaust ourselves by living in a cycle of continually ripping things up and starting again? And that's the tension, I think, that lies at the heart of this. We can't sit on our laurels. We can't just say, yeah, we did it, that worked, because we know there are many other things we need to work on, many other challenges. How we engage with them without exhausting ourselves is the key, I think.
I think that's a good point. And I tend to also overreact. Yeah, overreact. And if something doesn't work perfectly the first time, I'm like, oh, that's it. I'm redesigning. Let's start from scratch again. It didn't work perfectly.
Yeah.
And I think it's that balance of saying, okay, maybe it didn't work perfectly the first time, but let's try it a couple more times and then think about change. So I think I get really, I'm like, oh, it's not perfect. Let's change it all. And I get really excited about redesign, but I think I'm mildly unusual in that. So it is a real delicate balance.
Yeah.
David?
Thanks, Reilly. Your comment about John's sawtooth model, and I'm hearing it again now in your presentation, which I heard when I was at the conference as well. I brought John's sawtooth model back to Western Sydney University after the conference and was quite excited about it. And some of the commentary around the application of John's model, which I now see in embedding research skills across the whole curriculum, is that in our model we don't have any prerequisite subjects, so students can take any subject in any order, and so it presents a problem for something like research skills. And in our case, the one that is arresting my mind is maths skills, where it is a growth in the body of knowledge, or the growth in the application of the knowledge. How does that work in law with research skills, where really there might not be prerequisites such as doing a literature survey, but really when you get to the end, literature surveys are really a foundation skill that you have to use before you can start to develop a research proposal or something like that. So how do you deal with things like the prerequisites that are not specified prerequisites, and in particular students who are off pattern, who maybe take a leave of absence and the subject is now out of order? How do you deal with growth in a skill with off pattern students, I guess, is my question. Thinking about John's sawtooth model as well.
Yeah, that's a really tough question. And and maybe this is me redesigning too much, but we've changed our sequencing like a lot as we've gone through these changes in process. And for law, actually, we went from, we weren't semesterized, we were year-long teaching. So we had 6 modules that were designed in concurrent learning. And suddenly we had to switch from 6 concurrent modules to 6 scaffolded block modules. And that was really challenging, actually. So we are quite prescribed in the sequencing of our teaching, so that there are very few students who are off pattern. But at our postgrad, we have a carousel approach. So we have September starters and January starters. And I think it is a real challenge. We thought having a standalone self-directed online hub for the skills would solve that problem, because students can dip in and dip out and do it in their own time, and indeed pick up the skills that they're lacking. You know, there's, I don't know, maybe 20 some different online modules they can access from that checklist. And some of them are very foundational and some of them are very advanced. So it was meant to say, whatever you need to upskill in is here. And again, we found that the September starters, I don't know if it just aligned with their courses, their individual modules a bit better, but it's something we really need to look at. And it's a really good question that I'm not entirely sure we've solved yet. That this sequencing and skills development does mandate a rigid pattern, and that kind of flies in the face of the concept of block learning anyway. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think is the answer is that we're still trying to figure some of that out, and be able to cater to students who do end up off pattern or off sequence.
It's a conundrum we haven't worked out either. So it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Watch this
Thank you.
space, I
Thank you.
guess.
Definitely challenges of block, hey, Reilly. Thank you so much, Reilly, for joining us.